Good evening, everyone. Before we start the public meeting, we have to have a public hearing first on the annual budget hearing for the 25-26 school year. So I'm going to pass the meeting over to Mr. Harrison at this point.
Okay, thank you very much. Tonight we're holding a public hearing to discuss the budget. This is a meeting required by New York State. I'd like to once again thank everyone for getting us to this point of the budget process. It's certainly a collaborative effort and it is appreciated. As much of the information is going to be the same as in prior presentations, I'm going to go over in a more high-level review than I've had in the past. This is the agenda. We will touch upon each one of these areas. And there are copies of the presentations on the table, if anybody would like one. So right now, the state aid proposal that we're dealing with is what's been put forth in the governor's budget. As you can see, state aid is slated to go up by 2%. And the biggest contributor to state aid is foundation aid, which is going up by 2% or $580,000. The hold harmless or save harmless provision is still in the state budget, which means no district will receive less state aid in the upcoming year as it's receiving in the current year. This is important to East Islip because we are a district that's considered overfunded by the formula, and if this provision was not in place, state aid could be low by about $8 million. And I'll just touch upon the UPK allocation, which is $963,900, which fills 178 slots full-time UPK program. The tax cap levy, which is a calculation each district has to go through to determine what the maximum allowable levy is. That would require a 50% plus one majority vote. That calculation for East Islip yields a 2.93% potential tax levy increase. After discussions with the board and administrations, the percentage tax levy increase that's supporting the budget for next year, the proposed budget, is 1.75%, which is $900,000 less than the maximum levy allowable under the cap. This chart again depicts the history of the tax levy increase versus the allowable levy increase. So again, for this upcoming year, 2.93% is the cap, and right now, supporting the proposed budget is 1.75%. And you can see there's been a history of the same type of thing going back many years for the district. So in being below the cap, there is an opportunity cost, and that amount is approximately $900,000 for next year. As you can see, the cap could have been as high as $78 million. However, the tax levy with an increase of 1.75% is slated to be $77.1 million. Over time, the more that you're below your tax levy cap, it compounds the amount of what your levy could have been. So if we go back to 2015-16 through the current budget of 25-26, if we would have went to the levy cap in each year, the tax levy could have been as high as $89.1 million. Versus the $77.1 million that we are proposing. Now, that wide of a cap, let's say that that hold harmless provision is no longer part of the budget in the future. We can't go back and say, well, we're going to go back and get that $8 million. We can't do that. That's not part of the tax cap calculation. So for the average homeowner with a average assessment of $40,000, it's anticipated that the levy in support of the budget, the appropriations budget, will be an increase of $140 annually for the average homeowner, or 1.75%. Now I'm just going to draw a distinction here. This is the amount that is needed to support the budget for 25-26. The reason I reiterate that is because we do have two propositions on the ballot that were brought forth by the community. regarding transportation. One is an adjustment on the eligibility for bus ridership. Our current limitations are for K-3, a half mile or more from school to get transportation, grades 4 to 6, 1 mile, and grades 7 through 12, 1.5 miles. The proposed bus eligibility under the proposition would make K-5 all at a half mile, grades 6 through 8 for a mile, and 9 through 12 will be unchanged. Now, we did conduct a study to see the cost here. The cost is on two sides. On the revenue side, when you transport students living closer than 1.5 miles to school, the state aid makes a deduction, the state aid department makes a deduction on the amount of transportation it received. That's estimated to cost the district about $140,000. And to transport these additional students who fall into these classifications, we're going to probably need about 2 buses. So in addition to the $140 that supports the budget for the average taxpayer, that could go up $37 if this proposition is passed. Separately, there's another proposition that could cost an additional $10.50 annually to the homeowners of East Islip on average, and this is for the establishment of a child safety zone. There are a few select addresses that are south of Sunrise in between Carlton and the Heckscher Spur that would be approved for transportation solely because it qualifying as a child safety zone. So again, in support of the budget, the average homeowner could see an increase of about $140 with these 2 additional propositions together, potentially another $47 to $48. So this is the chart that depicts the components of revenue. We spoke about the tax levy at $77.1 million, as well as state aid of $41.6 million. And then the next largest contributor is reserves used to fund the difference of $6.4 million. Moving on to the expense budget, we see here that salary and benefits are going up a little less than 1%, or $893,000. That's made up of a combination of a decrease in employee benefits, which is due to 2 main contributors, which is the lowering of the TRS premium contribution for the district, as well as lower than anticipated health insurance expenditures for the second part of this year, as well as the first part of next year. This is offset by the contractually obligated increases in salaries. Overall, the budget-to-budget increase is 2.35%, or $2.9 million. Next 2 slides show the percentage contribution of each expense category to the total. And as I mentioned before, salary and benefits are approximately 74% of the total budget. This is not an uncommon number. It's going to be the same in most every district that you get the same information for. And here are the remaining categories making up 26% of the budget. So contingency budget. This would be applied if the Board of Ed decides after 1 defeated vote, or potentially a second defeated vote, that the district is on contingency. Expenses that are included in the contingency budget include those that are absolutely necessary to operate and maintain the educational programs, preserve property, and ensure the health and safety of students and staff. Things that are not able to be included in a contingent budget include expenditure purchases for equipment as well as student supplies. In addition, if we go to contingency, we also cannot raise the levy from the last approved budget, as well as some spending constraints on the different components of the 3-part budget. So here's a chart that will show you what the difference would be between the contingency budget and the budget that we have for 24-25. Instead of going up to 2.35% or the $2.9 million we spoke about previously, the budget increase would only be allowed is $317,000. And that's after stripping $2.6 million out of the proposed budget to reduce the levy to the required amount, as well as remove the supplies and equipment that we talked about just on the previous slide. There will be another proposition on the ballot for capital reserve expenditure. If you remember back in 23 to 24, the voters approved the capital reserve on May 21st. The term of that capital reserve was to be able to contribute up to $3 million a year over 10 years, not to exceed $30 million. We were able to fund this reserve with $3 million in the first year, but before we spend these funds, we have to go back to the voters for approval, and that's what we're doing on the 20th, asking approval to do a project that's within the scope of what was approved. The reserve scope was for major system upgrades, and as you can see, those systems are mentioned there: mechanical, electric, or plumbing. You can do interior or exterior building renovations or consider site work. The projects that we're asking for approval are for what's called switchgear projects for both the ECC and Timber Point buildings. And again, the layman's explanation there is that this is the mechanism that takes the electric from the street and takes it from the street, brings it into the building, and disperses it throughout the building. So in both the ECC and Timber Point, these are in need of replacement. The positive things about having a capital reserve to spend from is that we don't have to tax any more for this expenditure. We're not going to incur borrowing costs as well. So over the past 10 years, our average percent increase on the tax levy is equatable to 0.92%, and that's including the 1.75% that's in support of the budget for 25-26. So the next date for the budget is May 20th. This building is where the vote will take place from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. At this point, I'd like to answer any questions if there are any.
Mr. Harrison, thank you again for your presentation.
You're welcome.
Quick question. You might have this information, you might not, but maybe you get it for next time if you don't. How many kids are impacted by that bus proposal? How many more kids will get a bus that don't now? What are we getting for $350,000 if it's approved?
That's approximately 260 students.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison.
You're welcome.
Excuse me. At this point, I'm going to call the meeting to order. If we can stand for the pledge. We're present to advise members of the audience that they may address the board regarding agenda items after the superintendent's report. Only those members whose names and addresses are listed on the sign-in sheet available prior to the start of the meeting will be recognized during business. The chairperson will limit discussions of any item by the public to 3 minutes in order for the board to expeditiously conduct its business. At this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Mr. Manzo.
Thank you, Mr. Dorian. Good evening, everyone. Tonight we have the pleasure of recognizing two exceptional students who represent the very best of East Islip. These students have demonstrated remarkable academic achievement, dedication, and outstanding character throughout their high school careers. We are incredibly proud of their accomplishments and look forward to all they will achieve in the future. At this time, I would like to ask Mr. Bernard, principal of the East Islip High School, to the podium and formally introduce these two individuals.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Manzo, Board of Education President, Mr. Dorgan. My pleasure to be here this evening to recognize these two fine students from East Islip High School, the valedictorian and the salutatorian. The valedictorian for the class of 2025 is Ryan Flatt. He is coming to us with a weighted GPA of over 110. He is a two-time All-State trumpet player, an RPI medal recipient, varsity academic team captain, the vice president of Tri-M Music Honor Society, the principal trumpet of Long Island Youth Orchestra, and a member of the New York State Math Honor Society. He intends on attending Ohio State University and studying materials science and engineering. Congratulations, Ryan. Unfortunately, Ryan is not with us this evening. We'll make sure that he gets his certificate. Next student I'd like to recognize is the salutatorian, Megan Mann. She has a GPA of over 110, weighted as well. She is the Key Club president, National Art Honor Society president. She's a member of the National Honor Society, a Math Honor Society, an AP Scholar with Distinction, and a National Merit Commended Scholar. She intends on attending Dartmouth College, studying in government and international relations. Congratulations, Megan.
Thank you, Mr. Bernard, and congratulations to Ryan and Megan. Best of luck. At this time, I would like to ask Mrs. Nacarado, Principal of Tim Point Elementary School, and Mrs. Corinne Scarles, Director of Humanities, to come to the podium. They will be presenting the science of reading for us this evening.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having myself and Mrs. Scarles here to talk about the iReady Magnetic Reading Program and how we are aligning it with New York State Education Science of Reading Best Practice Mandate.
So, good evening, everyone. So, the New York State Education Department is mandating our alignment with the science of reading principles. These are research-backed approaches to improving foundational literacy skills and ensuring systematic, explicit instruction for all K-3 students. But what is the science of reading? The science of reading is an evidence-based body of knowledge that draws from linguistics, psychology, neuroscience, education, and speech-language pathology that explains how students learn to read and write. This includes key principles such as structured literacy, Big Six literacy skills, and systemic learning.
So what is iReady Magnetic Reading? It's a comprehensive literacy program for our K-5 students. It supports phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension, and is research-based and aligned with the science of reading. So our program components include explicit phonics instruction, decodable text and interactive lessons, ongoing assessments and adaptive learning, and teacher support and professional development. That's still me. To support best practice. So the systematic and explicit instruction for all foundational skills, embedded assessments to track progress, multi-tiered interventions for our struggling readers, and engaging research-based instructional strategies. Still me. Goodness. I feel like do I need my glasses or not need my glasses as I'm looking up here? I think I need them. There we go. So the priorities for magnetic reading foundations for the implementation at the K-2 level is that we're going to use magnetic reading foundations to provide high-quality instruction, including following a scope and sequence for the program, having our dedicated literacy learning blocks daily, and each week, as always, providing small group instructions for all of our students. We'll also support all learners.
The priorities for magnetic reading at the 3 to 5 level include prioritizing the delivery of grade level content, engaging all students in grade level texts, utilizing magnetic reading. It also supports all learners with appropriate scaffolds to support students at reading grade level texts. Using iReady data and grade level scaffolding really drive that direction of how we determine students' text and skill readiness. For our implementation plan, we'll be holding teacher training and professional development sessions, integrating these structural lesson plans into the classroom, continuous monitoring of student progress, and incorporating regular feedback.
Our expected outcomes include improved foundational reading skills for all students, increased student engagement and confidence in literacy, better alignment with the New York State education literacy requirements, and support our teachers with high-quality instructional materials.
For our next steps, we're looking to schedule professional development sessions in June, September, and November of next year, provide teachers with access to these resources and materials in order to begin implementation starting in September of this year. We're looking to collect feedback and adjust implementation as needed, and foster collaboration between teachers and administration.
Thank you.
Just the last item that I have is we have is continued conversations on financial literacy and how do we implement that into the classroom, looking at how to make that a mandated course for our students in order to graduate. So we'll be working with our Director of Humanities and come up with some curriculum writing to be able to incorporate it into our economics classes, family and consumer science classes, etc.
We're looking towards the coming school years to try to institute this?
It's going to take some time to plan, so I can't commit to next year, but certainly something we're working towards.
So where we have the end goal in mind and we know what we need to do, and we're just trying to get to that point at this point.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Manzo. That's it? Thank you, Mr. Manzo. I'm going to move on to public comments of agenda items only. Are there any public comments on agenda items only? Okay. I'm not seeing any. Certified personnel. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby approves the resignations, termination, leave of absences, position abolitions, employment appointments, tenure appointments, and salary changes in accordance with applicable provisions of education law and civil service law as cited in the certified personnel attachments. Any motion?
Motion. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Dr. Rourke.
Good evening, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our newest staff members to the East Islip School District. I'm going to start with our newest administrator, Greg Legger, who will be our new assistant principal at the high school. Mr. Legger, could you please stand? Congratulations to you, and welcome to East Islip. At this time, I'm going to call on all of our new teachers who are being hired. I'll ask you all to stand and remain standing so we can welcome you as well. Victoria Porter, Albert Santoro, Brandon Schroeder, Nicole Benedetti, Reese Smith, Brianna Portero, Joshua Wolin, and Jessica Felber. Congratulations to all of our new teachers and welcome to East Islip.
Welcome, best of luck to all. Non-certified personnel. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education hereby approves the resignation, termination, leave of absences, position abolitions, employment appointments, tenure appointments, and salary changes in accordance with applicable provisions of education law and civil service law as certified in the non-certified personnel attachments. Can I get a motion?
Motion. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Employee agreement. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves and accepts an employee agreement with an employee known to the Board of Education in executive session and be it further resolved that the Board of Education authorizes the board president to sign this employee agreement. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Does anyone need any items removed from the consent agenda? Not seeing it. Consent agenda items 9.2 through 9.12. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Board of Education hereby approves consent agenda items 9.2 through 9.12 in accordance with the action presented for each item. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Appropriation changes 2024-25 school year. Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of Superintendent of Schools, the Board of Education approve the attached list of appropriation changes for the 2024-25 school year. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Old business. Ms. Luthier, I know you're here tonight, so Mr. Manzo did talk about the what we're working towards that course that you had asked us. Part of what you had asked us the last meeting was all 5 of us individually to go ahead and talk to a former alumni about their financial literacy as it stands. I know I've done that, and I believe all the rest of the board members have done the same. We did have a discussion about this, but Mr. Manzo had put it out there, so I just want to tell you that we did do our homework as you had asked us to do at the last meeting. New business. Okay. New business.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Dr. House.
Okay, we have 2 items under new business. The first is a field trip for the winter of 2026. It is being proposed by Mrs. Garles, the Director of Humanities, and Dr. Genova, the Director of Math and Science. This educational trip will be for 9th and 10th graders to go to San Juan, Puerto Rico. This educational trip will talk about, they will learn about the historical significance of the region, in addition to having some environmental education through the trip. So that is proposed for February of 2026. The second item on new business has to do with the abolishment of some board policies. The first one is 2120, school board elections, and that has been consolidated into policy 2200, annual budget vote and school board elections, and 2300, Board of Education memberships. The next policy, 2270.1, litigation procedures, is addressed in policy 1120, school district records. That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Mills. Anyone else have new business? So I just wanted to mention it is concert season. Last night was the middle school 6th grade concert. My son performed it last night, but just seeing all the students between the band, orchestra, and chorus, phenomenal job that all the students have done. We have the upcoming concerts start 7th and 8th grade for the remainder of the week, so I just want to encourage folks just to be on the lookout for it. Those videos will be live streamed as well on YouTube. Okay. So before I move into public comments rather, it's been brought to the attention that a former employee of the district has shared on social media that their intention to use this evening's board meeting as a platform to express personal feelings related to their early resignation from the district. While we respect everyone's right to make personal and professional decisions, it's important to emphasize that the Board of Education does not publicly comment on personnel matters. Board meetings are not the appropriate venue for addressing individual employment decisions or personal grievances. Our public meetings are structured to focus on district governance, student achievement, and matters that affect the broader school community. We wish those who have moved on successful in their future endeavors. However, we must ensure that these meetings remain aligned with the intent purpose, their intended purpose. So thank you for your cooperation with that. So with that said, I'm going to transition now to public comments. Stephanie?
Jessica Fraser?
Good evening.
Good evening, East Islip community. I'm Jessica Fraser. Don't mind me, I have laryngitis for 2 weeks. You most likely remember me from 10-8 regarding the middle school security incident on the first day of school. I'm here to voice on how disheartened I am with the East Islip School District. I started as a lunchie at RCK on 9/6/2023. I was over the moon when Mrs. Jones hired me that August, as this is where I envisioned myself after all 5 of my kids were old enough. My first year was amazing. It's such a silly job, but one I truly adore. I most likely spend more than I ever made on that building and those kids in this bag. I am, or was, the bag lady of RCK. My indoor recess bag overflows with crafts that I purchased. My 5th graders this year have done endless amounts of diamond art and more, all because I am and always have been a giver, a doer. It's just who I am. I see a need and I will always try to help. After all, I was raised on Mr. Rogers, Girl Scouts, and Jesus. This year, since the first day with the middle school incident, and because I wasn't afraid to stand up for the truth and what's right, has been full of trials for me. I was ambushed, silenced, handed a letter at my home at 8 p.m. one night like a criminal, suspended all for sticking up for the safety and protection of mine and all of our children. I have never endured such character questioning. My character has been questioned, scrutinized, slandered, and more. All while some fellow parents continue to mistreat and tear apart children. I take my faith, belief, and values very seriously, and the fact that I made it till May is truly only because the kids of that building. This year truly broke my spirit. I have never cried so much ever, and I cannot unfortunately allow it to continue. I thought, as people who work in a school setting, our goal is to lift the children up and make them know that the sky is the limit and they are important. But instead, I have watched grown adults break their spirits and put them down, and it's truly sad. Last week, I decided to resign and leave the most amazing job I've ever had. I thought if I took myself out of the equation, things would get better for the children of the school. Being able to pour love and light into children and make them all feel uniquely important was truly a blessing. They have all left such an impact on me. I will never forget the time we spent together creating memories. I'm going to read the letter that I sent to my teachers to read to them so they didn't think that I abandoned them. I apologize to my community members whose children are my lunch kids for leaving them and not seeing out this year. To my lunch kids, I'm so sorry to tell you that I won't be back to finish out your year with you. I have a family emergency. I won't say what but God gave me a valid reason that I need to leave. I just want you all to know that I absolutely cherish all of the memories that we have made over this year, and I will miss you terribly. But remember, I live in your town, and I'm sure we will see each other one day. You are incredible in your own individual way, and I'm so happy that I was part of your RCK journey. I love you all so much, and I just know you're going to do amazing things, and don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise. The sky is the limit, and just keep shining, my beautiful darlings. Love, Mrs. Fraser. And good luck to the new teachers.
Thank you, Mrs. Fraser. Stephanie?
Craig Fraser?
Yes.
He's absent at his time. Charles Kalinowski?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Charles Kalinowski. First, thanks for allowing me to speak. The Redmond has been a source of pride in our community, not disrespect. For the past 12 years, our children have grown in ways that I never thought imaginable, both in the physical and mental state. Football, lacrosse, and track have taught them how to work together as a whole, both on and off the field, in victory and defeat. My wife and I are very grateful and blessed to have been part of such a beautiful journey. I want to thank the Board of Ed for their continued support to try to keep the Redmond name alive. In addition, thank you for giving our security staff the resources to keep our children safe. I drop my daughter off at high school every morning, and I ask her every week if she feels safe. I get the same answer. Bruh, that is a yes. Thank you. God bless America.
Thank you, Mr. Kalinowski.
Andrea Vecchio? No. Yes. Ken Lothier?
I thank the school board for recognizing the problem that we have currently. Is there one person that's going to be in charge of investigating what we have to do to get this program going?
Yes, that will be Dr. Bells, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, along with myself and Mrs. Scarles, our Director of Humanities.
And would he be able to give us an outline at the next meeting of what somewhat of the process is, or just a generalization, what we have to do to get this going?
Probably not at the next meeting, but in the near future, yes.
Because I would request that you keep me informed on the meetings as to what the progress is.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yep.
Because it's not going to help the class of 2026, but it's the class of 2027, the first ones that are going to benefit it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Luto.
Michelle Rivers?
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. My name is Michelle Rivers. I have just a few questions. I'm really excited to hear about the Science of Reading, our Ready Magnetic program that will be introduced. So my first question is, was there a pilot done on this initiative? If so, what were the results? Can everyone hear me?
Mm-hmm.
If so, what were the results of the pilot? Also, how much is this program costing the taxpayers? As you have probably been made aware, I made some comments last night at the the candidates night regarding the IDEA grants 611, which was carried over $270,000, which was not spent, an additional $52,000, which was not spent from the Title II grants. So wondering how this is being paid for, excited that it's coming. Was there a pilot? How it's being paid for? Additionally, I'm excited about the proposal regarding transportation. I'm really happy to see that that's happening. Parents have been really concerned about transportation in the school district, so glad to see that happen. So if you could please answer that question, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
So, Dr. Rivers, it was 3 questions in that, or just the one asking about regarding the science of reading?
So probably maybe 3. So, but I'll go over. So, the science of reading, how is it being paid for?
Okay.
Was there a pilot? What were the results of the pilot? Because I'm excited about that. And I guess my third question would be, what is the plan to address the 611 funds that were not spent? Right now, you're looking at potentially about $67,000, $68,000 that could carry over into the 25-26 school year that has not been spent. And for Title IIA, $52,000 that has not been spent from that grant, and that is from the 23-24 school year. So what is the plan to address spending those funds? Because in my opinion, those funds could be spent on children.
Understood. So, I'm going to refer you, I'm going to refer you to Mr. Manzo just to call his office. He can work on getting in those details and answer those questions. That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Stephanie. The next Board of Education regular business meeting and annual budget vote and Board of Election will be held on Tuesday, May 20th, 2025 at 8:30. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.